Welcome to the ADHD Mind, a space for ADHD, creativity, and personal development. 8 tips for executive dysfunction. What is executive function? According to Dr. Russel Barkley, executive function is a cognitive process that organizes thoughts and activities, prioritizes tasks, manages time efficiently, and makes decisions. Executive function skills are the skills that help us establish structures and strategies for managing projects and determine the actions required to move each project forward. Individuals with executive dysfunction often struggle to analyze, plan, organize, schedule, and complete tasks at all or on deadline. They misplace materials, prioritize the wrong things, and get overwhelmed by big projects. People with ADHD often struggle with the following 7 executive dysfunctions: self-awareness, inhibition, nonverbal working memory, verbal working memory, emotional self-regulation, self-motivation, planning, and problem-solving. 8 tips to overcome executive dysfunction. Tip number 1, write it down. Due to poor working memory, we tend to forget things so easily unless we have them written down. The more visible the information is in front of you, the higher chance you will remember to do it. Post your deadlines where you'll see them. Rely on notebooks, whiteboards, sticky notes, calendar, phone reminders to help you keep track of to-do items. As soon as you remember about a task that needs to be done, I suggest writing it down immediately at that moment. Don't wait until later. Either put a note in your Google Calendar or write down in your planner. Stick to only 1 to 2 places for all the reminders so that the information is easy to find when you need it. Tip number 2, make time external. People with ADHD tend to experience time blindness quite often, causing them to be frequently late for work, meetings, appointments, leaving other people feeling frustrated. One way to overcome this issue is to make time external by constantly checking your watch or clock or time on your phone to see how much time has passed. Without checking the time, we might get lost in whatever activity we are doing and lose track of time, causing us to be late. Make clocks accessible in all the rooms you're frequently in, living room, bedrooms, bathrooms, so that you are constantly reminded of the time passage. Another tip is to set timers when needed so you won't go over time on a certain activity. Time your tasks to see how long it normally takes. It will help you with your planning of each day. Tip number 3, pair boring tasks with interesting ones. To motivate yourself to get started on boring tasks, you may find it helpful to pair it with a more interesting or exciting one. For examples, you can put on your favorite podcast or music playlist or audiobooks to make the task of doing dishes less daunting. You may also give yourself a small reward each time you complete a task. For example, each time you cross off an important item on your to-do list, reward yourself with 10 to 15 minutes of scrolling on social media or watching your favorite show. When it is difficult to achieve self-motivation, try to create any external forms of motivation to get you started. Tip number 4, only focus on what's essential. Try not to take on more than you can handle. Focus only on 1 to 2 things and do them well. The 80-20 rule states that 80% of outcomes or outputs come from 20% of causes or inputs. According to the 80-20 rule, only 20% of what you do every day are important or essential and contribute to 80% of your results or progress. Take some time to identify which tasks or projects are those 20% and spend most of your time and energy on those ones first. Tip number 5, define what done looks like. This is one of the many useful tips I gathered from Greg McKeown's book, Effortless. Before you start an important task or project, take a few minutes to imagine what done looks like. Get there, then stop. Once you get a clear idea of what the finished product might look like, it is easier for you to stay focused and not getting sidetracked by unimportant details. Estimate how much time this could possibly take and how much effort you really need to put in. Having a vague goal in mind, you may end up spending too much time on unnecessary steps, which may not matter much in the end. Tip number 6, break down big tasks into smaller ones. You may have heard about this tip everywhere, but it really helps reduce the feeling of overwhelm. Break down any task into the tiniest steps you can and tackle them one at a time. Each time you finish a step, you can check it off on your list, and that feeling of accomplishment keeps you going until you finish the last step. And you don't need to finish all the steps in one day if the task seems overwhelming. You can spread it out over several days. Focus on the very first step without worrying too much about all the steps in between. You get there faster than you think. Tip number 7, create a document hotspot. Create a folder for urgent and important things that need to be taken care of within the next 24 hours. Keep it on your desk in front of you every day. Review these items first thing in the morning before you start the day. For example, an overdue bill, a report due, a client project, an important email or phone call to return. Tip number 8, create a place for everything. So when you need them, you know exactly where to find them and not spending time scrambling to look for things you need in a hurry when you're already late for work or an appointment. For example, your keys, wallets, glasses, important documents. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these tips were helpful to you. You can subscribe to my channel for more content on ADHD and personal development.